Hello, everybody. This is AK. I'm back. So, in last night or in last evening's video, um, some of you who are more observant might have seen something interesting in the description box of the video. In fact, those of you who were a bit more diligent and followed my direction to check the description box of the video to read the blog article that I made reference to in the video would have seen that interesting link, which wasn't about the blog article, but which was about Evening with AK and Friends 2025. Yes, I think some of you have already noticed that. Yes, it's a link to Evening with AK and Friends 2025, and that is happening in January next year, right? So I know last year during Evening with AK and Friends last year, I said that we might have one this year, and everybody was looking forward to it, but because many things happen, unexpectedly happen, we couldn't have one this year. So yes, next year is happening, right? So it's in January 2025. If you want to know more about the event, and if you want to attend the event, if you've already been waiting for a long time, right, the link is in the description box below, right? Go get your ticket. For those of you who have not been to Evening with AK and Friends before and don't know what it is all about, it is basically an epic chit-chatting session, right? Where AK is not talking to himself, but talking to an audience. Having a chit chat session with his readers, right? So basically, it's just a chit chat session, very informal, nothing structured, totally unstructured, right? Most of the time off the cuff. And I just take your questions and I answer them, right? And because it is very limited in size, right? I think it's only 300 tickets available, right? So it's very limited in size. I am a bit more easygoing or free flowing with ideas and with the things that I say, right? So like during last year's Evening with AK and Friends, one of the people in the audience asked me, would I invest in the banks or the REITs, if I was starting out as a young person? And I told him straight up, the banks. Really, it's just the banks. The banks win hands down. And that was what I said last year, middle of last year, during Evening with AK and Friends. Right, some of you might remember that, those of you who went for the event. Okay, so anyway, like I say, if you're interested, just check the link in the description box below. I shan't ramble on. The next thing I want to talk about is possibly taking some time off after the next Evening with AK and Friends in January. I might take a couple of years off, or 3 years, I don't know, and I won't have another event until I turn 55 or after I turn 55 years old, right? Why? Because I think 55 is a milestone. It's a milestone, right? Because that's when I have access to my CPF money, and then I might have another big move by then. So maybe just take it easy until then, right? So, and let's move on to the next topic, which is again about the banks. Okay. yesterday's video we talked about DBS, all right, and how the target price has been moved much higher by many people and many institutions, and they have good reasons to do that, right? And I gave my own reason as to why I would sell some at 2 times book value, and how relying on dividend yield as a yardstick as to when to sell, might be a bit iffy, right? Because book value doesn't change or is harder to manipulate, whereas dividend yield can be manipulated more easily, right? And I'm not saying that DBS would do it, but we have seen companies which actually borrow money to pay dividends, and then suddenly you see the dividend yield goes up, so it's reflected in the dividend yield. But DBS, of course, they are not in that same boat, right? For sure. They have the earnings comfortably to pay the dividends, but like I say, things could happen, external factors, and we could see a dividend per share reduce. So using dividend yield as a guide, there are some risk involved and we should be aware of it, but otherwise, all else being equal, that is a fairly good yardstick as well, right? But selling at 2 times book value, I'm not going to sell 100% of my investment. Like I said in the past video, I might sell like 50% of my investment, and if I do that, I'm already realizing quite a lot of capital gains, right? 2 times, 3 times, that kind of thing. And if we look at, and I say that, JP Morgan CEO said that, paying 2 times book value for a bank is just crazy. And if you look at JP Morgan, JP Morgan CEO, and we look at JP Morgan's book value now, what it's trading at is in excess of 2 times book value. So it's possible for a bank to trade higher than 2 times book. I mean, market exuberance, market euphoria, there's no accounting for that. So I mean, if we were to sell some at 2 times book value and keep the rest to enjoy the dividends, and if share price should push even higher than that, then we have some shares to sell again. Right? So like I say, when we buy, don't throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, unless of course prices are at rock bottom. And when we sell, it's the same thing, especially if it is a good business, why sell everything? Sell a fraction and keep the rest to enjoy the growth, and maybe sell at a higher price in the future, right? And the next thing to talk about will be OCBC and UOB. I mean, I talked about FOMO yesterday, and how people feel that they have missed the boat and they want to buy into the banks now, even though prices are higher, because there's so much talk about how prices could go even higher, right? And I say be a bit more rational about things and look at valuation. And if we look at that, then we see DBS is trading at like 1.9 times book, or very close to 1.9 times book. And if we look at OCBC and UOB, not too long ago, I say they were trading at like 1.2 times book, but now they're closer to 1.3 times book. So in terms of valuation, OCBC and UOB, they are still much cheaper, right? In terms of valuation, much cheaper than DBS. But like I've said before, DBS has good reason to be trading at a higher valuation, right? Because their ROE is very impressive, and in fact, their ROE came in third quarter at almost 19%, whereas UOB and OCBC's ROE came in like 14%. So it's a huge difference, all right, which is why DBS trades at such a rich valuation. But if we want to just look at book value, then we can say that OCBC and UOB are laggards. And if you have been investing long enough, you know that if we are interested in a certain sector, we might want to invest in the laggards because maybe they'll catch up. Right? And then if you remember a video that I produced not too long ago about using 5-year average PE ratio to help us decide when to invest, or whether we can invest now, whether it's a fair price or whether it's overpriced, that kind of thing. It has to do with mean reversion, right? Mean reversion. That means there's an average that we can depend on to help us see whether we are now currently overpaying or not, right? And in that video, I talk about the 5-year average PE ratio for the 3 banks, for our local banks, at being 11 times PE ratio. So if we look at DBS now, is much higher, trading at a much higher PE ratio compared to UOB and OCBC. UOB and OCBC, when I produced that video, their PE ratio was below 10 times, right? It was like 9.5 times, but now they are at about 10 times PE ratio, which is still lower than the 5-year average of 11 times PE ratio. So if you believe in mean reversion, then they could revert to their mean, which is like 11 times PE, in which case there is another 10% upside for the banks, right? So for people who are feeling like they must invest in the banks now, they must invest in the banks now because they haven't invested yet, that they feel that they have missed the boat and they're feeling horrible, and if buying some will make them feel a bit better, right? Maybe OCBC and UOB, right? Because they are still trading below the 5-year average PE ratio. And I'll leave a link in the description box below to that video for anyone who might have missed it. All right, and for those who want a refresher, they can take a look as well. So please do check the description box of this video later, right? Because there are a couple of things you might want to see, and there's this video about 5-year average PE ratio, and also the link to Evening with AK and Friends 2025 if you're interested in attending, right? So that's all. If AK can do it, so can you. Bye bye.